Hi, I'm Robo, and I'm here to show you the best VR adventure game I've ever played, called Vertigo 2. I haven't played Vertigo 1 before, but that would cost time and money, and this one said it was better and longer than the first one on Steam. If you want to see what that game looks like, at least the remastered version, here's a video by this guy which doesn't sum up the story because it isn't important, but does sum up everything else. Anyway, this video does have spoilers, and the best part about this game is that it has an actually good story and long campaign, unlike almost every other VR game. It also doesn't sacrifice graphics or gameplay, and it's made by just one guy, what the f. I wake up in this little holding cell with this geezer named Brian gawking at me. I ask him to give me a rundown of how the hell I got here, and he explains the pretty simple story of the first game. The only thing of note is that I got thrown down an elevator shaft, breaking every bone in my body to get here. He also tells me about my wristwatch, which monitors my health and does other stuff too, I guess, and then he sends me into the title sequence. One of his balls, Theris, meets me at the bottom and gives me a run through the slightly non-functional Brian Industries. There's a freezer where he shows me his absolutely horrid riz, and also the shooting range on a lake where he gives me a gun. All of a sudden there's a bit of rumbling and a bunch of hand people show up, so we start blasting. Brian contacts me and tells me that we're going to have to fight through the lab to a hangar because the Wi-Fi went out and I need to get to this thing called the data mast to fix it. I leave Theris behind and venture out into a quarantine zone. There's more kinds of aliens here, like this one which throws balls of maggots at you, and this one which gave me a minor jump in the stairwell. There's also an upgrade machine, so I give my gun a larger magazine, and by the way, these mags also have fluid physics for literally no reason. Anyway, more whack stuff happens, and eventually I find a picture of Remy from Ratatouille. That's not an Easter egg, that's my Steam profile picture, but I can't put it in my inventory though, so that's a bit of a shame. Eventually I find some labs where a shotgun is being tested, so obviously I have to steal it. I use that on this flesh cube, and I think it's pretty safe to say he wasn't too impressed. I yoink a door access code and code access this door, and then do a goddamn captcha to break the quarantine. Just like that, we're at the hangar, with Brian waiting for us in a helicopter type thing. He's all like, "Good job I'm not dying, mate. Anyway, I don't really care, let's go restore the Wi-Fi," and so I hop in. He whisks me up to the top of a mountain and tells me the data mast is just around the corner and that I need to get there ASAP, but I still find time to figure out I have no lower body and to throw barrels of toxic waste into the ocean. I find a revolver just kind of lying around, so I use it to shoot a bunch of security drones and lower a drawbridge. Once I get across, a bunch more robots show up in helicopters and try to shoot me, but they gave me exploding barrels and health juice, so they really didn't stand a chance. I go up an elevator and this little robot with anger issues corners me. He goes on this long-winded speech that I can't understand because his voice is kinda scrambled, and then he brings over a massive robot to disintegrate me. Fortunately though, Brian comes along and saves me just in time because I told him that I was scared and to come pick me up. I would love to say it was a serene ride home, but a bunch of gunships start tailing us and we end up crashing into the ocean. We're all good though and we swim home, and I have a good night's sleep. I wake up to someone knocking at my door, and even though I ask them politely to give me a minute as I do some recycling, they keep knocking anyway. It's Theris, and I have no idea how he's knocking because he's a fucking circle. He takes me to Brian and he's telling me that he could get me back to my home universe if I jump into a black hole in the reactor core or something, which seems like a plan that couldn't possibly go wrong. I should probably mention that the game takes place in this kind of quantum reactor core thing, which has its own government and connects a bunch of universes together, because that kind of makes everything that will eventually happen make sense. Anyway, while he tells me this, Theris tells us that there's a platoon of security outside, and their commander, Officer 13, tells us that he's here because of the hundreds of security bots we single-handedly destroyed yesterday, and that I also haven't paid tax in 4 years. We get flashbanged and are apprehended in a force field, but then Theris comes in clutch with a few robots with beam swords and wipes them out. We run through the Labbersmore security, bust down the front doors, and Brian tells me to go through this tunnel to the recycling centre, then go to the transport station so I can hitch a ride to the core. I ride down a minecart track and surface in a bathroom where a robot is kind of spreading blood around on the floor. I shoot it and it slides away in a desperate act of self-preservation and opens a locked door, which is nice. I discover mission critical assets and also a force field that won't let me through without a hard hat, and then I blow a security bot's head off for trying to peek me. I find a gate guarding a bunch of hard hats though, but when I try to activate the gate controls, I mess up and activate the alarm instead. My bad. After I fight off a wave of security and a wave of aliens for good measure, I collect the hard hat. I would love to say I was plain sailing from there, but then a whole ass dinosaur from the prehistoric era busts through a door with security trying to contain it running behind. I'm a bit of an animal whisperer though, and I manage to calm it down. I finally get out of the area, and after failed stealth, successful violence and a crane minigame, I find myself in an active war zone. These little ET looking things and these floating balls are fighting some security bots, but the balls aren't really friendly with me either. It sorts itself out mostly, and I jump on a conveyor belt full of rubbish to a brighter and better future. The ride is actually surprisingly calm and relaxing, and before I know it, we're basically in a volcano. I head up an elevator onto a railing, and you know what a good enemy for this very thin area with minimal area to dodge would be? One of those dinosaurs that you need to dodge. After almost getting mauled, I do another sketchy container puzzle to cross the lava lake, but unfortunately for me the only way forward is through. I'm greeted by 3 separate tunnels to go down, and I'm not really sure where to go, but before I choose, a bunch of handymen start coming from all of them. I've heard of people finding weird stuff in sewers, but this is just ridiculous. The first tunnel I go down has nothing except more lore, I guess, but the next one has plants that punch me as I walk past them. And then things just keep getting worse. One of those sprinting handymen come after me and almost kill me, then there's a flooded section with more of those aggressive plants, and my reward for getting through is a dead end and a spray bottle of milk. And now I have to go all the way back. I do find out what the milk is for though, because apparently this growth wanted me to spray him with it.
Okay. Oh, and now we're going to hell.
I go up this elevator after definitely not falling into the lava and make it out into some big lava refinery or something. There's these lava sprites here, and they do dances while hurling molten fireballs at you, which is pretty cute. I find a synthesizer again, even though it's been 6 chapters now because I probably missed a lot of them, but I add a laser sight to my revolver, which is my favourite weapon at this point. I take a regular elevator down to the factory floor, and find this room which is legitimately terrifying. It's a goddamn hot dogs, horseshoes and hand grenades reference, and they even have the voice lines. It's safe to say I'm scared for my life now. Anyway, there's a big door on one end of the refinery, and it's got 3 locks on it that I have to open. Every time I open one, they spawn a few of my worst nightmares, but eventually we get it done and get going. It seems that this vault door was hiding something, and according to the very subtle terminal notifications and the not so subtle hologram light show, I think that it might have been some big lava monster. There's a fire blocking the exit, so I do the regular procedure of throwing a fire extinguishing grenade at it, and then I sit down on this magma flow mixer for a relaxed ride down the river Styx, I guess. After I almost die for obvious reasons, I find another security station which has a new gun in it. It's an SMG which has 2 firing modes, one which is full auto and the other which is fuller auto. I'm prompted to lift a lockdown, which triggers a bunch of security to fall in on my position. I deal with them, and then Theros shows up to tell me that he thinks something weird is going on, and that Brian isn't helping me out of the kindness of his heart. He leaves me with a software update for my watch, which allows him to contact me anytime, and then I head down an elevator. It seems like I've probably made it into the heart of the volcano, because it's all dark and there's big dramatic drawbridges everywhere. I stumble into this room with a lava pond, I guess, and find the fire monster, and he's not exactly feeling very social today. I throw extinguishing grenades and shoot the big fella until eventually he sinks back into his pit. The room fills up with lava, and I jump into this vent that's opened up. All of a sudden I'm in the ceiling, and the monster is shooting fire beams up at me. I make it right above a pit and it tries to get through a hole in the center, but I have a little present for it. Once I'm absolutely certain he's not just sleeping, I head up a ladder and through an airlock to the metro station. I step out into the station and Brian radios in again to tell me that he's rerouting a train to come pick me up. He fails to do this properly, so instead he tells me that I'm going to have to go to the control tower to reroute one myself. I explore the place and it's actually quite nice. There's a bunch of oversized crabs around and they just kind of skitter around and become bullet sponges for security forces. There's also sniper bots in high up places and they do quite a bit of damage, but unfortunately for them they have very obvious laser sights that I can dodge. There's actually a weird amount of security for an abandoned train station, and I eventually find out why. There's apparently been a quarantine set up, and there's a bunch of unidentified secret slime all over the walls. There's even sentries which are bulletproof, but I find grenades about 5 meters away that are their one and only major critical weakness. Eventually I find out what they're guarding, and it's this little ambiguous slime creature. Its name is Tar Jelly, and it's now my best friend. I disable the electrified cage and he gets out, but the security are pretty pissed off now. They try to shoot my boy, but he shoots right back. I couldn't have possibly asked for a better ally. He even gets across this uncrossable gap like Spider-Man and activates a stairway for me, and eventually we make it through this tunnel with a huge crab on it to the heavily guarded control tower. I finally get the train rerouted, but unfortunately there's this thing called a centaur guarding it. As I walk down to challenge it, Brian fills me in on some tips and tricks for fighting it, like don't get shot and go for the head. I sneak up on it and shoot it, but for some reason it does a cartwheel in response. It's got a big laser cannon and very heavy armor, but it has no understanding of large obstructions, and so I use this to cheese the fight. Tar Jelly is here too, and together we shoot its head off. I try to take a photo to celebrate. The train eventually shows up and I wave goodbye, and to be honest I already missed the guy. I try to enjoy the ride, but then we come up in front of a massive crab. Brian yells at me to stop the train, but I can't find any emergency brakes and it whacks me into the abyss. But that's about all I have time for. I really am enjoying this game and I'm probably going to make it a multi-part series. If you haven't played it yet, you should. The story hasn't even nearly reached its peak, and there's another 11 in-game chapters left to go. But anyway, thanks for watching, join my Discord, and have a good one. Goodbye.